Hey everybody, Aaron from the Ballpit here, back with another video. Today, I'm going to be reacting to this tool from the Daily Wire named Michael Knowles. Not the biggest Michael Knowles fan here. Apparently, he goes on a podcast called the Whatever Podcast, and he debates three feminists or something. You know how those conservatives, they like to, from the 2016 era conservatives, love to get their debate bro titles. They're like, oh, Ben Shapiro destroys socialist college students. Michael Knowles destroys three feminists in the marketplace of ideas. You know how they love their kind of titles. So let's get into it. But I heard that the girl in the black, I don't know anybody's name other than Michael Knowles, just because I know of him from, unfortunately I know about him just through my interest in politics, but I've seen some stuff on the internet that the girl in the black is pretty solid in terms of her ability to articulate her ideas. And so I'm excited because honestly, with somebody like Michael Knowles, like, the Daily Wire did not send their best this time around. If you have somebody with even a lick of intelligence that can articulate themselves on a decent level, they're probably going to wipe the floor with Michael. So, I'm sure that any of these women could probably, honestly, destroy Michael Knowles in the marketplace of ideas. So, let's get into it.
Why do you want your own house?
So I could just be financially dependent, pick where I want to live.
Why is that weird? Yeah, ask somebody, why do you want your own house? For independent purposes, right? Like, I don't. Is it just because she's a woman? She's supposed to, the man's supposed to own the house or something? Is that supposed to live with your parents or whatever until you find a husband? I don't.
Even if you're married?
Yeah, I would probably buy a house before pursuing dating for marriage, yeah.
So what if, and then he would have his own house and you'd...
I guess from there we would figure it out from there if we wanted to sell the house.
I mean, it's the same thing as, I've dated people that have had their own apartments, and I have my own apartment. We both have our own apartments. We don't start dating and she just immediately moves into my apartment. That's crazy. The only reason that we rented at that time is because I don't have the money to buy a house, especially in this market. In this market, I don't have the money to buy a house. So, it's no different. We're just talking about different class levels. It's no different than just having two different apartments.
They both live in the house. I'd be fine moving a guy into my house, yeah.
And you would still own the house, or you'd split the house with him, or you'd transfer it to him.
Well, that would be crazy. So she would buy the house, and then she would start dating some guy. If it starts to get serious, he would move in, and then she would transfer the title to him. That's fucking insanity. That's one of the most nuts things I think I've ever heard. That would be ridiculously stupid on a financial level to do. And I'm sure that she would not do that.
I wouldn't transfer it to him. It would be
Right.
my house for sure.
You would have separate finances.
I don't know about that, but in terms of where I want to live, I'm 100% picking on my own and getting my own house.
Well, okay, there's nothing wrong with separate finances, right? Especially when you're dating. Separate finances is perfectly fine. And her wanting to choose the house and be in control of that, while that, in dating, that may be something that there's conflict about with the potential partner. That's just something you have to communicate. And there's plenty of partners for this lovely young lady out there that would be perfectly fine with her owning the house and controlling it and choosing where they live. I wouldn't give a shit. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. But
So if the man comes and
so your
goes-
bank accounts would go together, but you'd keep the house in your name.
If we're married, I guess we'd figure it out as we go, but I'd probably date someone and then, I don't know, I just don't want to be dependent. I don't want to
You don't want
move
to be dependent. So right.
Okay, that's perfectly fair. She said if marriage is on the cards, then the discussion will be different. We'll figure out who owns what assets, maybe mutual asset ownership, how that goes and everything. But in dating, no, you don't have to mutually own assets. And if she wants to own her own house before marriage, who fucking gives a shit? I can't imagine what dumb shit Michael Knowles is about to pull out of his ass. Let's hear it.
Dependent. So, right.
Let's hear it.
You don't want to be dependent. So why get married?
Why get married?
Yeah, I could be independent. I could live on my own. I could hire a maid. I could hire a cook. I could just whatever.
Okay, you know what? I don't hate this point. I don't hate this point. He says, if you want to be independent, why would you get married? Now, I'm one that thinks that marriage or some form of permanent partnership is whatever you really want it to be. But honestly, it's a decent point. He hasn't said anything really out there yet.
I don't want to be independent. I want to be dependent on my wife. I love my wife. I want to make a vow that I'm going to stay with my wife forever and have a nice big family. And I don't want to be separated at all. I want to be one flesh with my wife. If I didn't want to do that, if I wanted to just be on my own but have someone to mitigate the loneliness and occasionally sleep with, why get married at all?
No, hold on. She's talking about financial independence. She's not talking about having a partner that there's no level of dependency there, right? Obviously, if you get close enough with a partner, you're going to end up, that's going to be a person that you go to vent sometimes. That's going to be somebody you go to when you're stressed out and you just want to hang out and chill. That's going to be somebody that you have an emotional connection with. That's obvious. This girl's not going to say anything different. She's talking about financial independence. This is so different. This is where he tries to get you. He's going to try to spin it and make it a cultural war thing when really it's just economic. But let's see what the response is.
I do want to get married. I am going to eventually date to marry, I think. Like,
okay.
My goal is to eventually start dating in like a year, date in under 3 months, get engaged, get married. I don't want to do the like multi-year dating and
good.
like cohabitating before. I think that's a joke.
Great.
I think it's
Okay, you lost me here. We're going to have to go back and hear that again, but I think I've been lost.
a year, date in under 3 months, get engaged, get married. I don't want to do the like multi-year dating and
good.
like cohabitate.
No. She said date and get engaged in under 3 months, married within a year. That's fucking nuts. That's nuts, bro. I would never. What's wrong with dating for multi-years? What's wrong with it? I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's different when you're like, I don't know how old any of these people are. Maybe it's different when you're in like your 30s or something, because or maybe it's different when you're settled in your life, right? Like, you're like, I'm going to do this career field for the future. I'm going to live in this area for the future. All that kind of thing. Maybe then it's easier to do the kind of married within a year. But I'm not settled in my life yet. I'm not ready. I'm not done. So, I can't say that I'd want to get married a year from now. Holy shit, bro. Oh my god, I'd lose my mind. Yeah, I couldn't do it. And then I don't understand cohabiting. Like, why can't you live together and not be married? I don't understand that. I think that's perfectly fine. Honestly, hot take, I think you should live together before you get married, because there's a lot of stuff you fucking learn about somebody when you live with them. You learn a lot about them, and there's a lot of shit. Like, I've had partners in the past, and I'm like, this girl's like amazing. She's everything. Like, this is what I need. And then we end up staying together for like an extended period of time, like 10 days or something like that. And I'm like, oh no, brother, we got to get the fuck up out of here. Because there's just a lot of habits that people can develop in their home spaces that you may just not be compatible with. And so I think you should live together before marriage. I think you should.
Get engaged, get married. I don't want to do the like multi-year dating and
good.
like cohabitating.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It's a joke. I think it's a waste of time. But
why do it?
I'm also cognizant of the fact that men today are a joke, and there's a 1 in 4 chance that your husband's going to commit infidelity, and I don't believe in necessarily like pursuing
There are things you can do to mitigate those
stats,
though.
No, okay. We got some things to talk about here. Men today are a joke. I don't really know how to get started on that, because I'm a man of stats, right? I love my stats, right? And whenever somebody says something like men today are a joke, the stats nerds part of me is just kind of like, well, not all men, which I know is a dumb fucking response. Like, not all men, even if it's like a lot of them, like, not all men. But I don't know. Maybe there's a part of the hopeless romantic side of me or something like that wants to believe that true love exists, and that, if he really wants to, he would, type shit. Maybe I just have a different sort of expectation about how I should treat my partner. Maybe I've been raised differently than a lot of other men. Just shout out to my mom and my grandma. Shout out to the women in my life that raised me, for real, because they're the main people that raised me. I didn't have a father growing up. Well, I did, but I got a replacement father. No, we don't have to go into my family tree. But, so, you know what? I did have a bone to pick about that topic, but I'm going to drop it. I don't think I have anything I need to say about it. But then he said, fuck, what did he say? He said some dumb shit, didn't he? Let's go back.
For chance that your husband's going to commit infidelity, and I don't believe in necessarily like
There are
pursuing
things
the
you can do to
marriage if
mitigate
they cheat
those
on
stats,
you.
though.
There are things you can do to mitigate those stats. No, the fuck there's not. You should never blame, I'm not going to say never, because again, stats person. You should almost never blame the partner who's been cheated on for their partner cheating. Infidelity there's no reason for it. Even if you were not being emotionally, sexually, physically, whatever else satisfied by your partner, infidelity is not the correct answer. And even if you're not feeling satisfied, you cannot blame your partner for your poor decision to cheat on them. That's fucked up. I don't agree with Michael Knowles on that at all.
Mitigating infidelity on my husband's part? What? Being a fucking blow doll for him?
No, I wouldn't recommend that either. No, the things you could do is marry men who, for instance, don't recognize the sacramental reality of divorce.
Whoa. Did he just said date or get with men who don't believe in divorce? That's fucking crazy.
Reality of divorce. Just to
That's
use
not
one
what
example.
I said. I said infidelity.
Or who recognize that infidelity is
Every man
grave
I've ever
moral sin.
dated has been Christian conservative, and at least one of them, I found an Oculus in his closet where he's watching VR porn. In my experience, like I said, at the macro level, it's usually these Christian conservatives who are the most porn addicted, and at a micro level, these men I'm dating.
You date a lot of these Christian conservatives.
So, first of all, girly, branch out, right? Dating a lot of these Christian conservatives, branch out. Obviously, it's not working out as you've described. So she talked a lot about porn addiction and compared that to infidelity. And my opinion on it has actually recently changed. I used to be somebody that's like, watching porn is something you do in your own time. It's not something good. It's not good for the brain. It's not good for whatever. But if you want to do it in a relationship, I don't think that's cheating. It shouldn't be a problem. I've actually recently changed my mind where I don't think you should. Well, first of all, you shouldn't watch porn. Period. End of story. You shouldn't watch it. If you do watch it, though, and when you're in a relationship, I don't think you should watch it. Because if you're monogamous, right, and if you're poly, do your own thing, right? Do your own thing. Obviously, you have different rules. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're engaged in monogamy, having one partner, you shouldn't watch porn, because to me, it's like you're lusting for someone else outside the relationship, and maybe the draw and the desire of sex and lust doesn't grip me in the same way that it does other people. But I don't think it's that hard when you're in a relationship to stop watching porn. I just genuinely don't get it. And having VR goggles that you use to watch porn is kind of crazy. That's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts. I understand why that would turn somebody off.
Well, these men I'm dating.
You date a lot of these Christian conservatives.
Well,
There's something about them that attracts you.
Well, I'm waiting till marriage.
Good. Oh, good. So you don't. Okay. Well, look. I think that's.
Oh, she's a virgin. Not waiting until marriage. Yeah, I'm sorry. Wouldn't work out between us. Wouldn't work out between us. Sorry. Again, another hot take where I said that you should move in with somebody before you marry them. I think you should have sex with somebody before you marry them, because sexual connection, sexual chemistry is a very real thing. And I think that before you decide, because if I get married, I don't want a divorce, right? I want that to be my life partner, and I want to make sure we are compatible in every possible category I can think of, or at least compatible or compromisable in every category that I can think of. so that like not, unfulfillment or whatever else doesn't creep up or crop in to my relationship, because we are compatible or at least compromisable for certain things. And I think sex is a big part of that. I would hate to get into a marriage like that and you just find out that you guys are sexually interested in totally different subsets of sex. 'Cause there's a lot of things people can be sexually interested in. And then now you guys are just going to have unfulfilling sex for the rest of your life. And I know I said that sex isn't that important to me, like lust, but that's more sex outside of a relationship. I view sex as a very personal way to connect with another person, right? That you have a romantic or sexual interest in. So I think it's a great way to build bonds of communication and trust and vulnerability and passion. So I think you should, before marriage, to have those bonds and understand that that's something that's going to be in your relationship, rather than trying to build those bonds after you've made a promise. That was a long-winded kind of thing, but yeah.
Good. Oh, good. So you don't... Okay. Well, look, I think that's fabulous. Mm-hmm. And I love that you, as a feminist, are very attracted to Christian conservative men. I think that's good for society broadly. It's bad that these guys are like looking at porn or whatever.
I think he's trying to hit. I think he's trying to hit. He's like, yeah, baby, I'm glad you interested in these, Christian conservatives. Maybe that work in like a conservative media outlet, wear suits and have slick back hair, or stupid. Yeah, I'm glad that you're interested in those type of men.
I don't know that necessarily implies that once they get married, they would either continue to do that or would step out on you and cheat and have an affair or whatever. It does seem to me, though, that certain groups of men are less likely than others to sleep with other women. And so, if you want to have that good, stable life and maybe...
I want to hear what groups don't cheat as much.
Your fears of being dependent on someone who might be a total loser, then you might want to make sure you don't pick a total loser.
But even
he's going to be like, yeah, certain groups just, I feel like, are less likely to go step out and cheat. That's why you should date a black man. Because, the famous saying goes, black men don't cheat. He would never say that, though. He doesn't believe in... there's no way Michael Knowles believes in a race mixing for relationships. I don't believe it. He would view... I guess she is not white, so he probably wouldn't care. But if she was white, there's no way he would ever be okay with her dating a black man. Straight up, I don't think he would. I think Michael Knowles is that type of conservative.
Make sure you don't pick a total loser.
But even stepping out aside, I gave you those stats about correlation between religious men and pornography consumption and prostitution purchasing. So
where were the stats? I didn't see stats. I just heard anecdote. Maybe it's part of the main podcast that got cut out here. I would have loved to hear the stats. I mean, I would love to sit here and react to the main podcast, but like this is a 3-minute clip. And this video has been recording for 18 minutes at this point. Imagine how long me reacting to a 3-fucking-hour podcast would be. I would never leave this chair.
How can you say that?
Some people who are broadly religious of some sect or other do that, and all people are tempted by things. But I don't think that we can just throw our hands in the air and fall into a kind of romantic quietism and say, well, they're all just... These men are all dogs, they're all cads. No, actually, some men are more inclined to virtue than others, and... that might, if you...
But based off the stats, it would seem the religious men are less inclined to virtue.
No,
if they're
not
watching porn and buying sex.
That's ridiculous. You're telling me...
Well, I mean, if she pulled out the stats and they're peer-reviewed and the alpha levels are alpha leveling properly, it's under 0.05 alpha level, I don't know how you're going to argue with it, sir. But at the same time, I do think it's a bit of a generalization to group together religious subsects and kind of... Because at the end of the day, it is a correlative stat, not a causative stat. So when she says that there's a correlation between religious men and infidelity or being unfaithful, that's only a correlation. There's nothing that suggests that being Christian results in you engaging in infidelity, or if you really want to go on like a deeper level, like you being a person that is inclined to cheat or something like that, is more likely to be Christian or to feel comfortable with Christianity or engage in Christian behaviors and practice whatever. Only correlation. There is no causative means that have been at least extended. She even said correlative before. So you can't base it and say that Christian men cheat more. You just can't say it. You can say there's correlation, but you can't say that it's the Christian part of it is why they cheat more, essentially. So I get it. And like, you know, I very much well implore you to explore outside of conservative religious men to find somebody else that kind of fits with your lifestyle of waiting until marriage and, you know, a more independent woman. I very much, I hope you go find that. But at the same time, I wouldn't disqualify Christians or even conservative Christians from doing so, because there will undoubtedly be somebody out there that's a Christian conservative that doesn't believe in infidelity and will not watch pornography.
Me that
But I gave
Christian
you the
men
stats.
are more like no. You gave me a stat and said, you know, certain red states with certain religious groups consume certain kinds of porn or whatever.
The
But
more Christians.
Well, see, again, I can't make too many claims because I didn't actually read the study. I would need the study linked to me so I can read it to actually know what's being said. But at the same time, when you do a study like that, you're always going to be using a sample, not a population. It's almost impossible to study a population because that means you'd have to study every single member of the population which you're interested in. So, but if you take a sample and you say, you know, we sampled this many conservative Christians in red states, then you can generalize it to all Christian conservatives in red states. You know, you can generalize. That's the point of studies. It's the point of sociology, generalizing. When you have a valid sample that can be generalized.
In a state, the more pornography consumption and searches there are in prostitution purchases.
Hold on.
The more Christians are in a state, the more pornography consumption and searches there are in prostitution purchases. Yes.
Now, that's interesting. That's interesting. What I would want to hear about is the per capita results, because obviously if there's more Christians in a state, the likelihood of there being more people in that state means that the likelihood of them having more, you know, pornography and more prostitution purchases obviously go up. So I'd love to see per capita results for that. At the same time, I'd also like to implore you to possibly think about the intersections of economic disparities that could possibly invalidate these results, such as there are a lot of Christians down south, in the South, like in Georgia, Florida, you know, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, that kind of region. And they're also there's a lot more, the poverty rates are really high down in those regions, which ultimately lead to higher prostitution rates than places that have less poverty. So it's important to kind of understand the possible external factors that could be invalidating these results. But again, I'd have to read the study.
Would seem that perhaps there are other factors at play
Like
there
what?
when you're talking about a full state.
Okay. You know what? I just said all that, and Michael Knowles just pretty much said what I said. This is a decent conversation.
I don't know, when you're talking about class, income, when you're talking about education, when you're talking about family formation in the first place, when you're talking... Forget.
You know what? I mean, me and Michael Knowles literally just made the same point. So, you know what? I'm coming away from this interview. I'm saying this is a decent conversation between two people on opposite sides. Honestly, they're less opposite than you'd think. They're less opposite than you'd think. They're very, very similar. I think if I was in this conversation with these two, it would be them two versus me, genuinely, on a lot of these points. So I think they're a lot more in common than you'd think. But at the same time, I've actually come away with... I don't dislike Michael Knowles as much. He presented as way more intelligent than I've seen him in the past. Like, watching Michael Knowles try to fucking take a political compass test was one of the most painful experiences of my life. So this was actually like... This was better. He presented and articulated much, much more effectively.
For goodness sakes, when you're talking about geography, you know, we're talking about whole states here, and you're pulling one variable out and saying,
right.
See, there it is. The correlation is the causation. That's crazy.
Right. I agree. I actually agree. That was a great point about That was a great point from Michael Knowles. It's exactly what I said too. There are too many external factors that could possibly intersect with this correlation that can make it invalid. Michael Knowles said the same thing in less words. So there you go. That's my reaction to this. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Maybe if people like this type of thing, you can either recommend me other debates or conversations or interviews to react to, or maybe I'll go back and double dip and see another clip from these two or something as such. But as of now, I'm going to leave. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in another ball pit upload. I'm trying to upload every day at this point, 7 days a week, getting after it. So you can check into this YouTube channel every day at 2 p.m. and there'll probably be a video for you just waiting there. And if you don't want to wait till 2 p.m. or maybe the video that was uploaded at 2 p.m. is not something that you're interested in, you know, have a gander through some other videos made on this channel. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of bad ones too. I'm not going to lie. But there's a lot of good ones. And I implore you to go take a look at some of them. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm opening my Basquiat card deck. Because I actually, for my job or whatever, I have to bring a deck of cards. Don't ask me. I don't want to get too far into it. But look at these, bro. Look at them. Isn't this so cool? Should I do a video where I go over all these cards? That'd actually be sick. I want to do that. Maybe I will do that for a writer's block video. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm leaving now. Thank you again. Goodbye.